Thanks for coming on, Nick.
Of course, we have to let everybody know just how crazy this guy is. And there he is.
So,
Joshua.
what's going on here, Nick? You've been
So
following this case for weeks now.
Joshua Zimmerman, not enough weeks apparently. It didn't hit my radar until I think day 10. And at day 10, I was covering Stacey Lee Drake, the other escapee that was on the run. I think, I forget if it was Mississippi, somewhere out that way. And I saw a comment. Somebody said an inmate escaped 10 days ago, and there was little to no coverage because I also saw the poster and it said suspected for an attempted murder. Obviously, Stacey Drake was more important at the time. He was one. That's different. It's murder or homicide. It was above a suspected, and it wasn't an attempted. After they catch Drake, a simple Google search revealed this is not a guy suspected of attempting to kill somebody. The girl was killed, assaulted. I have to be careful. It's YouTube, so I'm used to the X. And she was executed essentially by a man, a monster, who tattooed his name on her head. And by that point, Jonathan, it's not his first time doing such a crime. That makes you wonder. He's at the point where he wants to get caught. He got away with several vile, disgusting crimes, everything from attempted homicides to assault, because I don't know what you can say on here, but assaults and abductions. They let him go in Waterbury, Connecticut for stuff like that. They let him out on bond. He comes out on bond, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's bragging. He's wearing his prison outfit or his jail outfit. He never comes back. And that's one that he is waiting trial for. There's an active warrant for that one, but that doesn't include the other one that I'm going to say it, corrupt department out there or incompetent agencies. I don't even know what you would call it. A girl was kidnapped, assaulted, and nearly killed. She survived. She was able to, I hear about many murders that this man committed. He confided in her that he harmed women and men, that he assaulted men and women. He had at least 3 women, and that's before the tattoo thing started happening. So fast forward, this girl she survives, and here we are with Joshua Zimmerman in Houston. He executes a girl after tattooing his name on her head. And at that point, he wants recognition. He put literally his name. That's how they found him. He goes on the run. But what's interesting is they initially put out the name Vincent Giuliano, I believe. It's something like that.
Yeah,
it's an
that's
Italian name.
this U.S. Marshal form I saw.
And the Houston Police Department did not know the name Joshua Zimmerman. That means that this guy is not using just an alias. Because when you have an alias like JLR, right? JLR does not have a different date of birth. Vincent has a different date of birth. That's a different identity. That's a different.
Totally
That's
different.
a.
The only way you're going to
So,
identify is via fingerprints.
and who would? And he. That's the problem. So, he was never. He never saw his way to the point where he would be in the system as a felon for the attempted murder that he got away with in Connecticut, and the abduction and the assault. That was all dropped, and he then went and harmed at least 2 other people, murdered, and we don't know how many others that he didn't write their name on. But police they ran the posters as Vincent, and it's not Vincent. It was Zimmerman. And for somebody to have an identity that good, that means that it was a legitimate identity with its own social, its own address, its own everything. And from there, they catch him, I want to say I think it was September or October of 2023. And for some reason, he was captured maybe in Mississippi. This is where it gets weird. The facts are so all over the place, and the connections this guy has are just remarkable.
Okay, so just to fill people in, this is he's 30, right?
30.
Joshua Zimmerman.
He turns 31 in a couple of weeks, or no, this summer in August.
Okay, so he escaped from it's called the
DeSoto County courthouse.
DeSoto County, and it looks like on the map it's just south of Memphis.
Yes.
Northern Mississippi.
Yep.
He escaped on the 14th of June.
Yep. Not
So
escaped. He walked away. Literally, I wouldn't even call it an escape. It was a bus stop.
yeah, the way I read it and the way I've seen reports, he was in a line with other inmates and he kind of just booked away, like
That's
kind
what
of.
see, that's one of the thing is they just don't know, because the people that do know, they saw the surveillance, and then when they came back to show everybody else, the surveillance was gone. So we're going off of a lot of hearsay. No federal agency saw the surveillance because it doesn't exist. It was taken from the courthouse along with the cloud server that has. They wiped the cloud server of the surveillance. That's where this case gets very bizarre. Um, when he escaped, the big problem here isn't just the fact that he was obviously helped by the government. We don't know who. There are two grand juries investigating that, but he had government assistance. That's irrefutable. The DA there admitted that there's a problem, and the way the escape happened was just, you can't explain it. But he essentially leaves the courthouse, gets a ride. He claims, and this is where it's interesting, because of the driver said that he had manipulated her into thinking that he was in a domestic violence situation, and he had a wife that was crazy, or a girlfriend, yada yada. Now he's a master manipulator, so he manipulates his way. Like, that's how he lures his victims. He will get you under the guise of a tattoo. I spoke to a survivor that got a tattoo, not on the forehead, thank God, but he puts himself out as an artist, a barber. He gets people to come to him. So he charmed his way into the car like Ted Bundy, literally like Ted Bundy with his case file. She says that she took him to Memphis. Now, what's interesting is the last official sighting that is on camera is DeSoto County. And it is very likely he is very close to that courthouse. And that Memphis thing might have been him, might have not, because there is just nothing to back it up. They're saying that the only confirmed sighting is DeSoto County. However, it's possible he's in Memphis. It's not adding up. I mean, there are so many more factors to this case that just make it surpass every level. When he escaped, they said that he was only wanted, again, for he's suspected of one single attempted murder. That's not the case. He has two warrants in Connecticut for sexual assault. He has a murder charge. When somebody's dead,
Essex County, right? Houston.
yes. And how is it attempted murder when the victim is literally executed on the scene? He was charged with murder. Now, whoever did that little release and whoever briefed the marshals and the public, they left out a lot of information that's why it didn't hit the news as fast as it did. Now, fast forward 10 days when I get wind that this guy is not suspected of anything. He is a killer and he's a kidnapper, and just he hits all the check marks, including, I mean, he's on the level of a Rex in my book with the amount of states he's wanted in. When we started pushing it on social media, that's when the marshals changed it from that attempted suspected murder to or homicide to first degree murder, and he also has warrants out for sexual assault. The
An
the
escape.
public and it's, oh yeah, the escape, but the problem is it's going to be interesting to figure out. Yeah, obviously he can argue that it honestly. So when you leave the facility, it's an escape, but it's a courthouse. If he argues that he just walked out and he was guided, what's to say he wasn't? There's no surveillance. It's literally hearsay. No surveillance exists of this escape at all, except the
Or is it because
surveillance
it's
of
rural Mississippi? Is that maybe a factor in here? It's Mississippi, and
no.
some
The
of the
factor the
courthouses around
factor is this. The factor is oh no, it was stolen 100%. They already know that's a fact because they watched it to see how it happened, and then when they went down, they obviously left the room empty, except for I guess one person or the person came in after, and they took the surveillance and they wiped the cloud. So not only did they take the physical surveillance, they wiped the cloud. Now, only very few people have access and keys to that level, and there's a lot more. He left with a weapon, so now it's not Danilo who got a
what kind
weapon
of
on
weapon?
he has something that is enough for them to it's a weapon. I'll say, I mean, it's a firearm. It's a firearm. So he left there with a
So he's running
firearm.
around with a firearm.
Yes. And that's, I
Wow.
mean, it's confirmed but that's they won't since day one. It's been confirmed, but I just don't want to scare the public as much. But we have to let them know that there is a man out there, and I keep saying, if you see him, this is not like the other manhunts. He is a thrill kill. If he say he's at the mall and you call it out, he'll kill everybody around, and he'll be happy. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't. He's going to go out with a bang. He's either going to kill a lot of people or kill a few at a time. This guy has a lot of crazy task forces after him. We're talking from the Gulf Coast, Pacific region, all of these bizarre the CIA. I mean,
So you've been doing a deep dive into this guy
and it
because
didn't take much. A
yeah,
lot
because
of it.
no, you've been posting on X like literally. It's what, day 18 of the manhunt. This is day 18. He's still not been found, right?
Not
And
only
you
that, but he hasn't
have,
been seen
like,
in 18 days.
you have all over your X. You have videos. You have jail videos of him, right? Like videos that he made while he was incarcerated or something. Like
That's when he got out. So that's him getting out on bail and bragging that, hey, I'm a thug. I've got enough money behind me. Here's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm gonna wear this as a uniform of pride, my prison outfit, and I'm gonna beat the charges. And then he cut his ankle bracelet off and he fled. He was standing trial for sexual. I mean, literally, the charges are APE, and they he cuts off obviously, if he's on Facebook Live with hundreds of thousands of dollars, you would think the bail department or the court would think that's a flight risk. No. And you would also think that he's been charged with, now the case that they dropped the ball on, the attempted murder, the RAPE, and the abduction. He was charged with that, and then they just mysteriously dropped the charges. That's what makes this entire thing, and I've been asking a lot of questions as, is he an informant? Is he an asset to the government, or is he a problem to the government? How is he getting away with so many crimes and vile crimes?
here's the thing is, then people said in the chat, it looks like he has multiple appearances. Like he can shave his head out or shave his beard, have a beard, no beard,
He
bald
has
head, short
six
hair, long hair.
appearances. He can have six completely different appearances. He can do a white man, a Hispanic man, and a black man, and then he can do a white woman, a black woman, and a Hispanic woman. He cross dresses, and that's on his file, which is insanity. He's bisexual. He has sexually assaulted men in prison too. He shouldn't have had a cellmate if he was in county jail or anywhere. Once you assault an inmate as another inmate, I'm pretty sure you're put on a list where you can't have. You're a risk to that, to be put with another cell person. You can't, because the other person can sue that facility for putting me with somebody known to assault other inmates. You know, they weren't sentenced to Zimmerman, they were sentenced to prison. Big difference. And with this guy, it wasn't only the fact that he escaped and he walked away and he had the surveillance and he had all of that. It's also, why did they say he was only wanted for a suspected attempted murder when he was wanted for crimes in Connecticut, in, I mean, Houston? It goes far up and down the coast of the U.S. It's not just an attempt. Yeah, I guess
Get all these locations. Like, what does he do for a living? Like, what did he
he's a
do?
killer, and that's what he does. That's his job. That's why I don't. He goes out. This man has. There's no way that his first body was in September of 2023 when he was charged in the not early 2000s, but 2012ish, with trying to kill girls, abducting women. Those are the ones that survived. You're saying he waited, retired, and then said, "I'm going to kill this one and paint or do a tattoo." No, that's him. That bragging because he loves attention. He's the kind of person that will watch streams. He will log into his friends' Facebooks, his family's Facebooks while he's on the run. And he's the kind of guy that would watch, just get a thrill off of this.
So
And
you watching us right now?
he might be. And I've said 1,000 times that if you are, or if you're an accomplice, you are going to end up in a worse spot than him, because accomplices are going to be the weasels in this, and he's going to be the headline. The
So
accomplices.
yeah. So the story today is about Dog the Bounty Hunter's jumping into this, right? Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, so he got involved days ago. I think that's the media trying to save a little bit of face for not getting involved whatsoever. It got to the point where it had not even local news coverage, and I was the only one streaming.
You
Thank
were.
goodness. Yeah, so thank God that Dog is amazing, and he loves to help spread awareness when awareness is needed. I got in touch with him right away, told him what's going on, and I explained. I've only called him since Danilo. Well, I worked with him on Bryan Laundry, but other than Danilo, I haven't spoken to him. I did Bibb County and now this, so I don't really just text him for any manhunt. It's when somebody stands a good chance of committing another murder, a crime, some kind of a situation. And this guy, he can abduct. I mean, when dogs saw it didn't take much. It took 2 minutes of being filled in, and it went from there. I mean, he launched a tip line. He tweeted out right away, "We're
He
getting him back
pledged
on our."
money. Did he pledge money?
And yeah, and like he upped the reward to 20,000. And honestly, it's gonna go up. This if they don't catch him in the coming days, they will start finding bodies. This isn't Danilo. If this guy runs out of money, he's gonna kill people, and they're gonna find bodies as they go. He is a serial killer. I mean, when you kill out of a just to kill, you're a serial killer. The only like when people slam Dog for getting involved, it's ridiculous because he has millions of followers and a lot of them are cops and a lot of them are just random people. And what if one of them sees Zimmerman walking? It's not like he's chasing him on the street. Right now we have to raise awareness because this thing can be dressed as two different genders and six different completely opposite. I mean, literally, do the math. He could be a blonde woman today. He could be a Puerto Rican guy tomorrow. He escaped and he looked. I mean, it's night and day. And that was day one. We're on day 18 on Danilo. It was slow. He didn't get a gun from the outset. This guy left with a ride, a gun, surveillance footage. He took the whole 9 yards. He left with everything and pajamas. I mean, his case file. What more do you need? That county should be shut down. And after the grand jury comes back, I mean, they're working on a Saturday and a Sunday. This is going to end up being similar to Operation Mississippi Hustle. And if you look into Operation Mississippi Hustle, that was a huge, huge scandal in Mississippi that had to do with prisons, kickbacks, doing things you shouldn't be doing as a politician. And they had everybody from the AG's office locked up to wardens to mayors to senators to the prison. I mean, you name it, from the bottom to the top. It was the largest scandal in American history. And that's what they're nicknaming the manhunt for Zimmerman, Operation Mississippi Hustle. And that makes me believe that they understand that the corruption in DeSoto County goes deep. He's not from there. He was being held at a courthouse. He left. Now, you've been to there. I've been to a courthouse. They don't. There. How does the conversation come up with a deputy? Hey, if how much does it cost to get out of here? A deputy didn't walk up to him and say, "Hey, man, for 20 grand, we'll get you out of here. We'll get you a ride. We'll get you the surveillance. We'll give you a gun." No, that takes a known crime pattern in that county and a network that this individual Zimmerman is with. And right now, it's believed they're calling it a cult. It's not a network. It's more that this case just gets more ridiculous as it goes.
So
There
you
are
think the law enforcement helped him escape
Oh no,
or facilitated?
yeah, rogue ones did 100%. That's a fact. They will be arrested, and they were. It's not to say that that entire region is bad, but I'm telling locals in DeSoto County, if you see him, call the U.S. Marshals, and then if you have to, call 911. But first, call the Marshals because they might call. If you call 911 in DeSoto County, they might call Zimmerman and tell them. Next thing you know, you've got somebody at your house. That is something I don't very much say, but when the county admits that, hey guys, just so you know, the people deserve some answers because everything went missing with the inmate, we've got a problem. So if you can't hold the surveillance, you can't hold the killer, you can't hold anything except the press conference, and we haven't heard from you in 18 days, don't call 911 if you're in DeSoto. That county 100% assisted him, and it's undeniable. How does somebody master escaping a courthouse, stealing the surveillance, getting the assistance, getting away with no sightings in 18 days without having an insider? And how does somebody do that if they're not from there? Unless it doesn't take much. And that's when you look at Houston. If you type in, there are cults in Houston. I have to check my notes and see what the exact terminology was, but the one that they are investigating has a branch in Houston, has a branch in the area of DeSoto, has a branch out in Connecticut. All the regions this man went to, and the tactics they use to get the cult, that cult, it believes in kidnapping, brainwashing women. It believes in like essentially uh, almost like ISIS-like, disgusting middle-aged Middle Eastern. It was like back in medieval kind of stuff. In today's day, and they're talking about minors, they're talking about adult people. They don't care. They don't discriminate, and that's the kind of stuff this guy is in. So the other problem is he will kill if he thinks that it's him, and he turns around and you run, he's gonna kill you. If you see the guy, the best thing to do is just keep going and act like nothing happened and not take a picture of him because he will kill you. This is not a joke. This guy is not your average inmate. I've spoken to marshals on the case, and they're even worried, and they keep emphasizing armed and dangerous to the max. On the poster, it's in red, and they
So
don't do that
why on the flyers and why haven't even reported any like sightings of him in the
because there's
last
none.
18 months? Like at
That's
least the
it's done.
location.
Not
Where
there's
where is this
nothing,
dude?
and that's why I'm not buying. And a lot of I'm not buying the fact that he was perhaps it's mistaken identity with the Good Samaritan victim. Perhaps it's a distraction. That's why I keep saying he's in DeSoto County. You were here in Pocopson when Danilo Cavalcante escaped. He was caught he was very close to the area, but he didn't. It took him how long to get out of that area? Rather long. Now, this guy, he's going to stay in that area because he has protection right now. That county helped him get out. And for all we know, he is a block away from that courthouse.
Like
And
a safe
that's
house? Like a safe house? A barn? Shed?
they are that this guy's involved in cults. He has ties to gangs. He is a career criminal that goes from Connecticut to Memphis to literally Houston. He was in Mississippi. So why was he in Mississippi where he got caught?
That's what I'm saying. Because if you look in DeSoto, it's really rural down. It's south of Memphis, but it's rural, right? You
Yeah,
would think this guy escaped. There would have been some sort of he either would have jumped into someone's car or carjacked them. No reports. Car stolen, no reports. Sightings of him hitchhiking, no reports. Nothing. Like no
he,
crimes that I like. And I briefly, you know more about
he,
this case than me. I heard no crimes whatsoever around that courthouse. So where did he go?
that is the work of a professional that has not a network. It takes a very crazy level of the ability. You can't just approach the police and say, "Hey, break me out of prison, man. I'll give you this amount of money." It doesn't work like that. You have to have an insider. You have to have an introduction. You have to have people that are corrupt from the outset, that are known to do it, that have a business of doing it. You have to have a criminal that became a cop. Okay, and that's what this guy had. He he's a ghost in the machine. Not only that, they're so embarrassed of the way it happened. If you watch the press conference, the DA doesn't know what to say except we are they know they're in trouble. You can kind of hear it in their voice. You're talking about a killer that walked out. He vanished because that this this is what adds to the problem with this man. At least with Danilo, he was trying to leave the country, trying to flee the area, and that's something that you weren't worried about running into him, and I wasn't. Right? I wouldn't mind if I did because he's not going to kill me. I wasn't even law enforcement. He didn't care. This guy is not Danilo. This guy is on a mission. They don't know if he's on a mission to kill witnesses. They don't know if he's on some kind of a. They know he's not on the. They know he's not trying to escape. He's not. He's not running. He's not going to. He's not the kind of inmate that they're worried about going to Mexico. That I know they are not worried about that, and that comes from them themselves. So that is what scares them. He's staying in America. He's armed. He has a network, and he's at large. The media didn't do anything on this, and they get some blame because they do cover. I mean, I blame them because when somebody escapes with a DUI, they cover if he's seen at a bar getting a margarita. But then I also blame the DA who said the guy was because even I thought that was weird. He's suspected of attempting to kill somebody. It sounds like you guys don't even know what he was wanted for, and you don't have a case because you think he might have tried to. You try to make sense of that charge. Suspected
This
of
case,
attempting to kill somebody.
if you Google Joshua Zimmerman right now and put news, this has zero national attention. It has just local media like Fox 13 Memphis, Click Houston, because he, oh, lots of noise. What's that static? That's pretty
Is
crazy.
there static?
No, there was static. But click Houston and WTVA and ABC 13 and Action News 5. Nothing like any national media. And we're talking
What do
with
you
a
say on the 18th day? Hey guys, just so you know, 18 days ago, a killer left. He left from Mississippi. He might be in Memphis. He's wanted in Houston. He's got a warrant in Connecticut. They're saying he's going to Connecticut, but he has something in Houston. We're guarding a lot of homes. What do you say without sounding like an idiot? Why didn't you start this from not day one, day 10? Start on, you're going to come in on the third week or on the 23rd year, like the other guy I just found out today that some man got caught 23 years later. They're embarrassed and they think that hopefully they catch this guy and it stays local. Well, guess what? Once this guy kills somebody, that's a problem because how are they going to explain to their audience when somebody dies in, say, Virginia, that, hey, we didn't do the story because we were late to the party and we didn't let the Virginia residents know that there was a killer going to Connecticut? It's nowhere across the country. But if a guy escapes on a DUI, we would know in PA if it was in California because the guy might go to the bar. It's embarrassment, maybe. I don't know what it is, but it's also is somebody asking them not to do the coverage, which I
so
don't buy that. I don't,
matter of fact, these county jails and me and Magnolia were looking into this earlier in the year. There was some prison escapes. I forget which. There's been so many. Some of them I don't even remember the name. But there was a guy that escaped in Mississippi. We briefly covered. But one thing I noticed in Mississippi was in the last, I think, year up to the spring, there was like over a dozen jail escapes from jail facilities all across the state in these small rinky-dink county jails. And I'm thinking to myself, why is everyone escaping from Mississippi? What's going
because
on here?
it's a bus stop, and I'm starting to think that. So Operation Mississippi Hustle, it was the largest corruption bust in I think American history. It was one of the largest. They compared it to Watergate. It was big. So that never ended. All that did is a new generation. Right now, Geo Group is still in charge. They banned for-profit prisons, yet they own they can't call them prisons, they call them detention centers, and they can't call them prisoners, they call them detainees. Mississippi is kickback central. It was during Mississippi Hustle. It still is. The FBI admitted that that was the most corrupt state back then because of that. IRS said they've never seen. I mean, they even had the U.S. Postal Service part of the investigation into the corruption in Mississippi because it was so insane. The AG issued a statement saying, "I'm going to investigate it," and then they arrested him for leading part of it. It was just insanity, and I think that's what happened in DeSoto County. I think that whoever let this idiot serial killing monster out didn't. Somebody messed up and put his charge as he's suspected of attempted murder. They probably got paid off to get him off out of the building because that happens in Mississippi, thinking it's that charge. They probably didn't charge him much had they known it's a murderer, rapist, serial killer. That's going to raise flags. They wouldn't have done it. So I think they didn't know how deadly this man was. Now they do. Now they know that not only is he deadly, he's long either gone or closer than they think, but he's succeeding. Right now, he's winning. He hasn't been seen in 18 days. He hasn't been seen since somebody allegedly took him to Memphis, which is just somebody saying there's no surveillance in Memphis. So if
Would
he
be
made it to
because it's the
Memphis,
biggest city nearby. Is that why Memphis is looked at? Because that's the biggest city close.
no, they said that's where he was driven to, but there's no surveillance. So what? Somebody drove him there and he vanished. It doesn't make
Why would
sense.
they not have surveillance like of any type of vehicle or on the streets around there showing, hey, we're looking for this vehicle, possible tag number based off
What's the
street
point
cam.
of surveillance when they steal it? That's what this case is riddled with so many problems. They don't have footage of anything of this guy except that he left dressed up almost like he's representing himself, like Ted Bundy. This guy literally can
Came
charm you. He
courthouse.
escaped like Ted Bundy. It wasn't an escape. He literally walked out and got a ride. It's literally the definition of Ted Bundy in 2024. But this guy's way worse because Ted wasn't doing like what Ted was obviously a serial killer, but he was trying to not get caught. He wasn't really leaving a signature. This guy is signing his name. Like, what are you to sign your name on the person and then blow the head off, and leave that part so they see that?
I mean,
What?
we got another. I mean, the courthouses, and I could just think of one today. There was a courthouse escape right today up at the Karen Reed trial. Some guy was in court and just ran out the door, and they caught him.
Well, they
Just
probably, yeah.
just 2 weeks ago in Harris County, they said this was the first time ever somebody escaped in court there and was running around and put a knife to a court administrator's neck, and he went. They were looking all over the river down there in downtown Houston and stuff like that. I mean, as defendants now just emboldened and feel like they can escape while they're in court.
No. Those are just idiots. This guy wasn't. He didn't steal a knife. He was given a gun. This guy didn't escape. He was walked out. He left with his case file. They gave him the surveillance. Find me an escape where the criminal got the surveillance footage and then the response. So he escapes the building. Somebody takes the surveillance, and then after they watched it, and then somebody wipes the cloud. Jonathan, that's 3 steps. Are you kidding me? And how do you get out of the courthouse in the middle of this, unless you're high ranking, where they're not going to search you with surveillance during nobody leaves the courthouse during an escape. Even if it's a suspected attempted murder, or even if it's somebody for DUI, you're not leaving. And you're telling me this guy is walked out, got a ride, and this is the story that they want us to believe, that they initiated a lockdown in 8 minutes and he escaped 60 minutes before the 8th minute. That's what their excuse was. And then that's why they couldn't see him going to Memphis. That makes me think whoever said that, which is, I believe, a law enforcement official, they're being misled by the person that's helping this guy. Because you're telling me he beat you guys by 60 seconds, and that's why you believe the theory that he went to Memphis, and then what? Somebody went in and took the surveillance and logged into the cloud system, and while all this is going on, they walked out, and there's no surveillance of them getting in the car or going in the building. So but you have certain surveillance. So they knew what they were doing. The person that did this is very high up. They knew the building. They've been doing it. This isn't the first time. That's why I said I want to know how many not escapes there were, because this is a crooked county. I want to know how many people were charged with murder and got off. I want to know how many people were charged with sexual assault and got off or walked out, because this county seems to, they created an atmosphere where if you call 911 and you want to report a crime, they're going to bring the guy in, release him for 20, 30,000 bucks, not on bail, just let him out, and he's going to kill you. Who wants to call the police in that county knowing that guy, like right there, he's going to knock on your door and now kill you for calling it in, and that his connections, just when it goes to the courthouse at the county, your connections go as high as they go in that region, because there's nothing higher than the court and the DA's office in that specific region, as far as law enforcement. So you have to be high up.
Maybe they should high up the bond, make the bond even higher, $50K. Somebody will talk.
It's not about. See, the thing is with things like this, it's almost it's hard to identify, and there hasn't been a single credible site, single. So the only people that are going to talk are ones that are likely implicated with the guy, and these are more for people to come, like the tip money is for people that are hesitant and they wouldn't otherwise give the information. If they're in a cult, 50,000, 100,000 is not going to change their mind, because that cult is able to pay people off to get you out of the courthouse. The only way to get him caught quickly is for one of the people, one of his followers, one of the minions in the organization, somebody that he's called. We know how these people operate. They're going to reach out to accomplices, friends, family. He uses their social media. First one in the door gets a good deal, and I'm not going to guarantee it, but honestly, I think that the first person won't go to prison. And everybody afterward is going to get anywhere from 15 to life, because you embarrassed the court system, and they don't like that. If you embarrass the government and the court and show that the place is also corrupt in the Zimmerman essentially snitched on corruption by walking out of the courthouse so easily with a weapon and the surveillance. It wasn't a one-off. There's no way.
I got a picture of the sheriff. His name is Thomas E. Tuggle. This is the sheriff.
He's an interesting fellow.
Should the sheriff, he's a big dude. He's a big guy.
He's an interesting fellow.
Should he be held accountable? I mean, should heads roll here when it comes to?
I think that there's a grand jury right now, a federal one, and they are investigating. I don't know names, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's on that. I wouldn't be surprised. He is one of the few people with access to that room. Anybody with access to that room right now they have witnesses that are speaking in front of, and the grand jury So I'll put it for you guys to know. There are two grand juries. There's one being held by the state of Mississippi, and then there's one being held by the United States government. Now, the one by the U.S. attorney is not being held in that region. They have the way the U.S. works is they have several different grand juries. One could be in Pennsylvania, a federal one that's investigating Mississippi. So the feds are investigating people that are at that individual's level, that sheriff, and essentially his rank and two ranks under are the kind of people that are going through major questioning and scrutiny from federal agencies. And it's not the marshal. The marshals are looking for the escaped monster. The FBI and other agencies that handle public corruption are handling the courthouse. So there are two
People are in the
separate
chat
major.
People are in the chat are saying Tuggle's a good sheriff.
I mean, everybody's a great person, but you just don't know at the end of the day. For somebody to be a great sheriff and not know that they have an individual working under them that has the ability to help a killer escape and steal their surveillance and get him a firearm, you're not a great sheriff. I'm sorry. He might have and at the end of the day, people that do what they do best put on the best shows. They are the best sheriffs. Who would have thought that half of the people that got arrested in their tenure were corrupt? I'm not saying the sheriff is corrupt, but I'm saying that people of his caliber are under a federal grand jury investigation because there's not who else. There's nobody that can help this person escape. I know that the prosecutor said that we are investigating people that came from outside of Mississippi. There is no way that people, unless it was literally Bortak that came in to get this guy, you're telling me that outsiders came to town, infiltrated the courthouse, walked the killer out, meanwhile snuck into the control room, took the surveillance, and then went to the IT. Now, Jonathan, they're not in the same room, so I have to back up. The place where they took the surveillance from is one stop, and then there's a second stop to delete the cloud. So you're saying this person had all these steps and they just did it on a whim, and the city locked down just in time. There's a lot, and at this point they already said that he had great assistance from the inside. So it's irrefutable. And during the Bibb County thing, the Sheriff Davis, he arrested one of his own, and he held them, and he took a picture with him and said, "This is what happens when you F around." And he locked up his own.
People that escaped from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
You were covering that almost every single day. You were putting out an update on the tweet, just like you're doing every single day.
That was the last one. Yeah, that was the last one I really cared to cover because that was a risk and a threat. This guy beats Cavalcante. Way surpasses Cavalcante. Cavalcante had a lot of help by luckily, $1 billion garden. This guy doesn't have that kind of help. He has sickos, cult members. These people believe in satanic stuff, and they are just vile, and connected. They're connected, vile people, and that's the scary thing. It's when they get caught. Why was he caught in Mississippi? But then he gets out. He's not from there. He has no connections to Mississippi. He's wanted in Florida or Houston. It's a bizarre situation. He wasn't there for long. He was literally caught and brought in, and he managed to do that. If he had just left, I would understand that. But the surveillance going missing and the evidence and in the cloud, that's what
people are asking. What cult? Like, what type of cult are we talking about?
So what they are investigating are satanic cults, and people can research them on their own. I can't really lead too much, but you can find a lot of information online, and that's what's crazy about Zimmerman. If you guys look up his other name and you look at his history, you could find warrants in Connecticut that are active, and it says if you see this guy, call us. So that's what's funny.
Vincent Guerino Juliano.
That's, I believe, it's more of that's his Italian name.
Yeah, why would he call himself? And I noticed he has a neck tattoo right here.
And there's some stuff to look for in those tattoos, and that's actually what led them to believe he is tied to either. I mean, not either. It's an organization / bizarre satanic ritual cult. It's a mix of this. It's very unorganized, but very networked, and obviously and evidently so. The guy walked out of a courthouse standing. First of all, they underplayed his charges. and then he was able to get away, take the surveillance. I mean, this case should have been reported. We're on day 18. This is bizarre. What? We're gonna go on a month and nobody heard about it until it's crazy.
Yeah. As far as like Bibb County, when you were covering those inmates that escaped, the last one, right? Where
Yeah,
did he end? Where did they
they
catch
all
that?
were close by. Joey Fournier. They were the other three. One of them was at. One of them went to his girlfriend's house in Atlanta, and he ordered DoorDash, the idiot, and they delivered it with the marshals. The other one was nearby the prison. The other guy was, again, everybody was within 10 minutes. They always stay close by. Michael Burham, he was close to the jail. The escapees during the Cavalcante thing, when all of those like young youth juvenile center people, kids
Right by.
ran, yeah, like a lot of them right there. They
I mean,
hardly get
even
far,
upstate
but
New
this
York,
guy,
David Sweat, those two, up there in the Clinton County Correctional Facility, whatever, they didn't end up going that far either. They went like 25 miles to the north.
and that's, but the thing is they had enough to go off of to know that this person's on the move. And during Cavalcante, you saw that there were certain days when they made enough noise to have movement. And the way that, I mean, they have cool tactics to make people do something. None of these tactics are waking this guy up, but they know he couldn't have gotten far. When I say the federal government is using every resource, they are running this guy through every single camera, from easy passes to traffic. The CIA was involved in the manhunt from the first day, which adds to who is Josh Zimmerman to warrant national intelligence agencies, not like by the mass. It was a single agent, but that's a big deal. I've never heard of the CIA getting involved, but Dog tells me when they do
It,
get involved, it's an STK situation, which is shoot to kill.
he listed his race in the Marshall form is listed as black. Is it possible he could be a black supremacist? Because to me, the black supremacists
No, this
have
guy,
big bushy beard look
no, so
type of.
this is the thing about him. He's not that. That would explain some stuff, but it's this guy is just cold blooded. The stuff he's into is more along the lines of demonizing and fooling, the kind of manipulating women to the point of it being illegal. It's like brainwashing subliminally and training them on. They use these tactics to groom and uh, belittle and literally abuse to the point of murder, and then they'll get off on getting her harmed. And it's like that's the group, and it's a group that's known. I'm not saying that is the. There are many groups like this, but there is one of them that they are pursuing as a possible connection because of the cities they are in. Now,
Well,
these groups, if you just look up, for example, the 764 satanic cult, it'll show you FBI.gov stuff on the investigation, and it'll also break down what that cult believes in. And it is a spitting image of Joshua Zimmerman. And the fact that it is, I'm not saying that 764, I'm just using that one as an example to show you the style of the cult. The one that he is in is more so of an underground, but it's identical to that 764 ritual. And if you guys look into it, it's insanity what they do, and it's known by the feds. The problem is their network is so tight and secure that getting them to break is almost impossible. And by the time the victims are able to say something, they're killed. By the time that's what they do. It's sickening, and they harm they start them from children and raise them up. It's insanity. That's the kind of stuff he's in. He's not in your normal gang or cult or whatever. I mean, not that any are normal, but this dude goes the extra mile, and he cross dresses. That's the other problem. Like, we don't know what to look for.
Bernie Walton in the comments said Zimmerman is a Jewish last name.
Well, the thing is again, back to the alias. How do we know Zimmerman is his real name? I don't buy it. They thought his name was Vincent. It's not. Now they're saying Joshua. He might not be any of them, and that's why they have to put this guy's in. As soon as he's caught, this isn't going to be the way it usually is. I mean, we're going to get a picture of him as always, but the first group of people that are going to talk to him are the kind of people that just walk in, get a scraping of your DNA, and you never see them again. And those are the individuals that are after him. When the CIA gets involved in a case, you really don't have any rights. Okay, you
CIA
lose them.
involved?
From day one, the CIA had an agent involved on the case, and that's what added an extra layer of, at first I said it's great that they have an extra agency, but you don't see them. They're not like
Never.
boots on the ground, but they are there, but you don't, they're not there. It's weird. So they
Well,
are on the case, and I know that from, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like Memphis, Memphis kind of scares me because this guy could just blend into Memphis. We know Memphis is off the chain. Memphis is known as one of the most dangerous cities in America right now. It is literally the Wild West there. There's bodies all over the place. They're pulling people over on that surrounding loop, interstate, left and right. They have to bring in state police to assist. It's just wild. It's lawless. I had that Wild West. I was in Memphis maybe like a month ago down there in St. Jude's down there in downtown Memphis, and it just was sketchy. And everyone seems like they're on edge down
See,
there.
the thing is with this guy, I mean, during the Danilo manhunt, we saw so many distractions. The fact that we haven't heard anything more about that Good Samaritan that drove him to Memphis, and that they haven't really said that he's in Memphis, except he was possibly, they said that he was transported there. They didn't provide a photo, but they said last confirmed location, DeSoto County Courthouse. So I think they're trying to figure out if this Good Samaritan, because the name hasn't come forward, there's been no news coverage, they haven't given an update. I think they might be interrogating the person. You have to remember, this is a cult that they're investigating. If this was some kind of a distraction, they could fool local and state police, but you can't fool the feds. Now, the marshals and those guys didn't even have a full background on this guy until days into the investigation. They didn't. When you're looking for somebody, you take the word of the prosecutor and the agency that's originally in charge. You don't do an entire background report to figure out every little nook and cranny, because you're looking for a person in that specific region they couldn't have gotten 200 miles away. The marshals get there in like an hour. They get there and they're misled. They think they're looking for some little attempted or a guy suspected of attempting to kill somebody, and it turns out that he is so above the. I mean, they're embarrassed to add that he's wanted for RAPE, 2 counts in Connecticut, even though he is. As soon as you go to his file, if you run his name in Connecticut, it's his date of birth, his Zimmerman
Where's
name.
Connecticut?
Well,
Because
I
we got
think
the
that
way back.
one of them, I believe, is, I know there's Waterbury is the one he got away with. Not got away with. They charged him and everything, and then they just literally kind of told the victim to get lost and kicked it. They said that she was like, they victim blamed the victim in a way that resembles something out of the show. If you don't watch much TV, but Your Honor, it's a Netflix show, and it's about a corrupt judge that fixes a trial to help his own family, and that's exactly like how the whole vibe is with this whole manhunt. I mean, we're on day 18. We know nothing. He was seen 18 days ago. He took the surveillance, and he's in a cult. I mean, the information is so limited, but all we know is he's very deadly. They have no idea where he is, but he's not really attempting to flee the country, and he's possibly going to Connecticut. I mean, it's bizarre. In Connecticut would be to kill victims that can identify him, which is even crazier. How many victims does this guy have to have before they say, let's take him somewhere that's not a corrupt region? How do we know he doesn't have 10 bodies, 15? He's been charged with a near half dozen or more, not bodies, but whether it's kidnappings, sexual assaults, and attempted murders and murder. I mean, that's the ones you guys caught him with, and he's signing his name. At that point, they have to run his name through, or not his name, his DNA through the system. And you never know. We might find the next Heuerman. But this guy's not going out without a fight, and he's not going to kill himself. He will, if he has to, he'll take a small amount of hostages if they're close. But he's the kind of guy that wants to go to a Six Flags. He wants to go to a Disney World, and he wants to take a big attraction and have the
Well, I
world
think so.
watching. He wants the world to see him go. He's not
Really?
playing, or he's going.
No.
He's on a mission to kill. It's a matter of how many.
People
But
in the chat are like, "Who's Nick the Hat?" Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nick the Hat. He covers cases all across the country. Journalist. Used to work for National Enquirer, right? National
yeah,
Enquirer, and he covers a lot of prison escapes. And he's in the know, and he has a lot of resources and sources on the ground. So your specialty, is prison escapes and jail escapes. I mean, that's what you cover a lot on your X account. And you were there at Cavalcante, and you've been doing true crime cases for years.
yeah. For the most part, I didn't really care for manhunts and stuff until I saw the level of fear locals have when there's nothing to go off of and there's nobody talking about it. And
And
the
that's
reason,
trouble.
yeah, and I saw that firsthand. You saw it firsthand, and that was in the Cavalcante thing. So since then, every time there's something like this that comes up, I want to get involved, and I sometimes just send out one tweet or two just to raise some awareness. But in a case like this, it's something I want to do every day, but I don't want to do it to the point where I don't have any updates. And when I do have an update, I go live and I tell people. While we were in Pocopson, we were able to stay live all the time because we can show people there is no update, but here's what's going on. We're not there right now over in DeSoto. So if
Well,
we were, we would be live,
but
and
here's the
that's
thing about it is, I suspect there's many DeSoto County residents that are not even aware about this guy right now because the mainstream media is not even picking it up like that.
so I've been getting a lot of information from locals, which is kind of cool. It's the same situation as Danilo. I'm getting texts from people that are within there are search areas, which is good to know. But the problem is this guy is watching. He has most likely a cell phone, from what they believe, and he is known to be obsessed with himself and watch stuff about himself. So he's known to go on his ex's phone or on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. He's known to go into victims' social media and his parents and his friends. So he likes to watch what people are saying about him because he's a coward, and that's what it comes down to. He loves getting off on these like thrill kills, but the guy is nothing short of the most. It's the threat. This is the definition of a threat to the community, and to not cover it and not push it, we would be essentially it would be morally wrong. They have to know that there is a vile person going in their backyard because obviously DeSoto County is taking enough money from Zimmerman that they're not going to tell you for like they're not going to say anything. It wasn't until somebody tagged me in a little post and I saw and I thought it was a little suspicious that we pushed it out, just saying, "Be on the lookout. This guy might be a killer or suspected of attempting." And then once we blew his entire record out and said that this guy's killing left and right, raping, abducting, taking this, stealing this, he'll carjack you and then tattoo his head. They changed it. They stopped talking. No more press conferences, and all they can say is that they're under grand jury investigation and that they are also investigating it with their own grand jury. So they're aware that they are being investigated. It's bizarre, and there's no coverage. There's not. But then put yourself in their shoes. If I was not theirs, I mean locals, I might feel a little comfortable-ish going to that area to go live, but I wouldn't want to live there because this isn't Danilo. Danilo didn't have help from these weird cartels and gangs, and if he did, and cults, if he did, they didn't want to get too involved. But in a place like DeSoto County, mind your business. If you see something, don't call 911. Call the U.S. Marshals because at this point we don't know who's involved. We don't know who. We know that he has a lot of connections enough to make him. The U.S. Marshals are so confused that they hope he didn't get to Memphis, but they don't have enough to say he's not there. And that's not good when they know that it's possible that this person is telling the truth, but we just can't prove it. And if we can't prove it and he is in DeSoto, how do we explain it? So they aren't getting the full picture, which is why they had to call in bigger guns, the FBI. I mean, they literally, the U.S. government is treating this as serious as it gets. The people that helped him are on the same boat, if not a worse one than he's in, because they are going to get the crazy. They're better off going out suicide by cop, honestly, because when you embarrass the courthouse and when you make a fool of the judicial system and make it pay to play and make it known that you can essentially do what you want if you're a gangster with some money over here and they let you out to go harm the community and oh you can be a pedophile but you're cool because you got how much we've got no that comes to an end that builds it creates a culture of being scared of the courthouse and you can't do that and the country takes that stuff very serious so whoever helped him they are even if they were to turn themselves in the best is they might not go to prison for 15 to 20 years but they're going to prison. You can't do that.
What do you know about this area right here, just south of the area, this gigantic lake area that's south of the DeSoto County Courthouse? It's called Arkabatla Lake, and it's a huge. It looks like a humongous recreation type area just to
So
the
this is
south.
the kind of guy that doesn't even need to live like Cavalcante. Dude, this guy can be in a house. He has that many. For him to be able to get out of prison, my
Like,
head looks
right
huge.
there
For him to
by
be
the
able to get out of prison and take the surveillance, you think he's in the woods? Please, he's watching with cable TV. He's eating better than us. He's relaxing and he's plotting and probably doing some ritual fire stuff with the cult. He is on a mission, but he's not making any moves. That's what's scary. They haven't seen him in 18 days, Jonathan. I mean, have you heard of an 18-day gap other than this 22-year guy? Not
It's rare.
really.
They would at least had a sighting or some sort of lead or an area that they said they're focusing on. It's just like they either don't want to tell the public or they just don't know.
Yeah. No, they don't. I
And
mean, well,
if they know,
the local
they're not
government
telling the
knows.
public. That's
The
doing the
local
public a disservice.
the local government knows. I mean, some of them know, and those people are under investigation. The federal government doesn't know, and when the federal government holds their first press conference on this whole escape, it's going to be a big one. And I keep saying this is going to be the story of 2024 if it doesn't end soon, because this man is going to begin to kill, which will then amplify every accomplice to an accomplice to murder. It will up all of their charges. That means the first one in the door, you'd be lucky to get anything under 5 years, and second in the door is getting 25 to life. I mean, this is the craziest. The facts in this case, the reason they're not having press conferences is because, one, they're under investigation, so anything they say can be used against them. See, they know their own rights. They're trying to save themselves from saying something that might get them indicted a little bit more. And then two is they can't. How do you explain arming, giving the guy the evidence and getting him out in a matter of days and say, yeah, we this group came in from out of state and did this. This is not SEAL Team 6 that came through the windows and kidnapped him, and they didn't make a scene. So how did they get in there, break in, steal everything? You're telling me people broke into the courthouse as he was breaking out, and then they were able to get out afterward? No, because they would have searched the people. So it would have had to be a government official. See, the lie, it literally turned into one lie, begot another lie, begot a bigger lie, and it got to the point where the last press conference says, "Oh, okay, guys, obviously the public is going to need to find out what happened for themselves." Basically
Really?
saying that don't trust. Yeah, if you watch his press conference on my ex, he says the public has to find out what happened for themselves. Essentially saying that they know they're at fault. There is no way to explain this. There is no way. You can explain an escape. You can, because it happens. You can explain an escape with one accomplice. You can explain an escape with accomplices that steal the surveillance, get the evidence file, give you a ride, get you a weapon, and you've never been there. You can't explain that unless you've been doing it for decades, unless you have a career for it, unless you're on the black market or some market as known to be that connect. That conversation doesn't come up, because if it does, if Zimmerman brought it up, they would have made him an escape risk. They wouldn't let him, because a good guard would have reported that as an escape risk. So they wouldn't approach a random out of towner either, unless they were assigned to by an organization that said, we need you to go to this guy. There is no miracle in life. There's not a guard that wanted to do a good deed in his head. What, Zimmerman's innocent? No, and it wasn't a guard, because they don't have that much power. What, it would have had to have been somebody in, like, a deputy plus somebody in the top that can go to the other. Honestly, unless Superman maybe can make it to all of those rooms and then break out. But their theory, it doesn't pass the laugh test. People broke into the courthouse as this guy walked out. They stole this stuff. They locked it down. Zimmerman made it away in 7 minutes. And now you want to add that these guys also got out? I mean, what sense does that make? You sound dumb and incompetent.
How do you get your energy? I
This
mean,
stuff
you're
gets me going. When these
like
people
that,
try to
you know,
explain
change the
themselves,
topic for a minute, but you're like on and
dude,
on and on, but
it,
you know all these details
be-
and
you
you're
have
very informative and you have a lot of insight about this stuff because you do your research and you talk around, man. You drink a lot of coffee.
not, well, yeah, Red Bull a lot. But the thing is when people try to explain themselves, and in this case, it's just, I'm mind boggled at how we're talking about it and updating the public for the first time in 18 days. This guy's been out almost a month, and they're
Scary
hearing about it. And it's not just anybody. He's a serial killing,
stuff is
abducting.
enough.
It's like crazy. And what, I can't react any other way but to literally, I'm mind blown that this happened anywhere in the U.S. How do you get away with that much stuff when it's
And then
unheard of?
little or no media attention. Again, just small markets, nothing. Well, hopefully we amplify these officials to say what they know and give the public an explanation.
Yeah, that's the goal, and
And
that's why I'm saying just
get this
keep
guy
sharing it,
before
a-
before he kills again.
and we don't
Because
know
I
where
think
he's
he'll kill
going,
again.
and that's why we have to just share this nationwide, get everybody to know his tattoos, not so much the face. Get it, but the problem is we don't know if he covers them up. Get a sense of how he walks, how he talks, because this guy could be a woman. He has 6 identities, and that's why it's just. And the pain in the neck is we have to tell people not to call the police if you're in DeSoto County, which is usually something we don't do. We usually say call 911 if you see him, but in this case we have to say unless you live there, call 1-800 this, that, the third. It's insanity that we can't trust the local county to we can't trust the local county to hold them, and we want to trust them to catch them again. Hopefully they catch them soon though, and I think they will with the awareness that's now growing. And it was because of the streamers and because of the online community that they caught Danilo Cavalcante. The media only jumped on it because of the numbers growing on social media, and they understand that social media is going to be the
True.
television in the future.
But those medias, as we know in Cavalcante, yeah, they might be out there for a second doing the reports, but they weren't out there all night like us following around
No.
police and finding leads. As soon as it got dark, that media was gone.
Yeah, they did 15-second
I mean,
sound
they
bites.
do their own little, prep, little stand in front of a police, point checkpoint and do their 2 or 3 minute report, and that's it.
Yeah, for 15 seconds, 10 days late. It was the
When the
craziest thing.
public service, particularly when you got scared residents that are hiding inside their house, fearing that a fugitive or a mass murderer or whatever is going to storm inside their house and harm them, their children, their animals, and their family. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
fair for them. Media should be out there reporting it just like this. I don't think it's fair for the DeSoto residents and all the way up to Memphis and all this around this area. They should be aware of this guy right
the
here.
whole country should be aware of this guy. When they said he's wanted in Connecticut, the minute he escaped, they said he might be going to Connecticut. Why wasn't Connecticut informed? It should have been a national story from not from the jump, but at least 2 days in, and alert people in Connecticut and Houston and everywhere. Let them know. At this point, we have to alert the whole U.S. because he's literally anywhere. They haven't seen him in 18 days.
I thank you for your time tonight. Thanks for coming on. Um, Anyone can follow Nick the Hat on X. You're also up on YouTube too. You got a YouTube channel. You cover these cases, so I'm sure people will follow now and keep an eye on this case. And I'll check back with you periodically if this guy ain't found to see what's up.
Sounds good, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nick the Hat.
Of course.
Everyone, thank you for
Thank you,
watching.
guys.
Out. Our investigates Nick the Hat. If you see this guy, contact authorities immediately. Do not apprehend this guy yourself. Don't be a hero. Just call 911 and let authorities do it.
See you guys.
Have a
Thank
good
you
day.
so much.
Thanks,
See ya.
Nick.
No problem.